Kלים Perik Yud Aleph Mishnah Ches. We're carrying on with more Kli Matches, and we're moving on to weapons and armory. Says the Mishnah, this Mishnah is quite a straightforward Mishnah, Kasdo Tamea. A helmet made out of metal is Tomei. That's quite easy to understand. It's a Kli Matches, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be. However, Uluchayayim Tahorim. These are bits of armor which come down over the cheeks, and they are tahor because they don't have a shem b'fnei atzmo. They don't have their own identity. It's not quite clear why these luchayayim are here. Are they just for ornamental purposes, or they're just an attachment? It seems they're just an attachment to the helmet, and therefore don't have their own identity. However, myesh ben beis kibul mayim, if there's sometimes the soldiers would remove these little bits of armor over their cheeks and use them as cups to drink from, then they are tomei. Kol kli hamilchama tmeim. All weapons made out of metal are tomei. The Mishnah reckons a few of them: hakidoin, hanikoin, hamagofayim, vashirion, tmein. Kidoin is a small spear. Nikoin is really, it's a long spear, but a long spear is got a wooden handle, and the tip is made out of metal. And the nikoin is the metal tip. And the Mishnah is telling you that not only is the whole roimach tomei, the metal tip by itself is also, these are things that are obviously removable, and the metal tip by itself is called a kli b'fnei atzmai. Hamagofayin are those bits of armor which are on the legs, leggings made out of metal. Shirion is the classic body of armor, the coat of armor. They're tomei. Now the Mishnah is going to move over from armor to jewellery. Kol tachshitei noshim tameim. All metal jewellery are tomei. There's a debate in the Rishonim whether they actually have a din of kli or not. Whatever, they are certainly learnt out from a posuk that they're makabel tumah. One of the simple yafus is in the parsha in Midian where it says etzodav etzomit tabas ogil v'chumaz v'goyma, and then the posuk carries on with the words koil kli ma'aseh. The Gemara on Shabbos learns it out from the tzitz. Whatever, a tachshit made out of matches and metal is tomei. And the Mishnah is now going to give some simple examples. Ir shel zav, this was a tiara across the forehead, engraved or shaped as the city, with the form of the city of Yerushalayim on it. Katlios, literally a choker. The word katola means to kill. These are tight metal bands round the neck. Nizomim are earrings, tabois are ordinary rings. And the Mishnah is telling you, v'tabas, when we say rings on the finger, bein sheyesh lo chosam, bein she'in lo chosam, you may all remember the Mishnah in Shabbos where it makes a difference between a ring with a chosam, with a seal, a ring without a chosam, difference between a man and a woman. But as far as tumah is concerned, they're all called kelim. Nizmeh ha'af, nose rings. That's quite a simple part of the Mishnah. The Mishnah carries on. Coming back to the case of the choker. Now the choker is now going to be made up of parts of bits. What happens is you have a string, a thread, and on the thread are strung beads. The actual string on which the beads are strung is made out of pishton and semer. That is not makabel tumah because the rules for pishton and semer is they've got to be a beged, and a string or little rope is not called a beged. However, the beads which are strung on the string are made out of metal. When it's all attached, of course it's a kli. However, nifsa kachut, if the thing comes apart and all the beads are now separate, hachulius tameos, each bead, each metal bead by itself is tomei. Shekol achas va'achas kli b'fnei atzma. Each one is considered to have its own shame. Next case. We're now going to reverse this. Instead of the chut being made out of tzemer and pishton, and the beads out of matchos, we're now having the chut shel matchos. The thread itself, the choker around the neck, is actually a metal ring. Soft metal. And the beads are made out of diamonds, precious stones, pearls, glass. Now these things themselves, if they're matchos, then under the rule of matchos they're being makabel tumah because of the rule, kol kli matchos sheyesh lo shem b'fnei atzmei tomei. But diamonds are not makabel tumah. They're not metal. Margodis nor are pearls, and nor is glass. Glass is makabel tumah midrabanan, but only if it's formed into a kli sheyesh lo beis kibul, which these of course are not. Therefore the actual chulias are not makabel tumah. The chut, made out of metal, is a kli and is makabel tumah. Says the Mishnah, what happens if we separate it? Nishtabra chulias, all the beads are off. We're left just with the circle, just with the chut. Chut b'fnei atzmei kayim, as long as the chut is there by itself, it is tomei, because that is a shem b'fnei atzmei. Shore katla, what happens if this chut of matchos breaks and we now have a bit of chut? How big does the chut have to be still considered a kli matchos? Says the Tanakama, Kimloi Tzavar Katano, big enough to fit round the neck of a small child. Rabbi Eliezer Omer says even smaller than that. Afilu Tabas Achas Tmea, even if it's so small that it can just bend into a small ring, then that piece of metal will be used, it's soft metal, will be used as a single ring. Shekein Toinim Etzavar, that will act as a pendant on a necklace, and therefore that small bit of metal is a kli b'fnei atzmai. That's Mishnah Ches, so now we'll go on to Mishnah Tes Mitzvah Shem.